Yeah, these last 3.
I'm really scared of this particulate.
I think I coughed for like 20 minutes after that when he's gone right now. The first ones are like, oh, I put those on eggs. I put those on, good practice.
These are good.
Yeah.
Like up to here.
A few moments later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it just keeps getting worse. Hey CanadiEM fans, welcome to CanadiEM Spotlight. In this new show, we're going to be interviewing some of the most interesting people involved in emergency medicine around Canada. My name's Alex, I'm one of the medical students at the University of Saskatchewan. With me today is Dr. Brent Thoma. He's one of the emergency physicians in Saskatoon and one of the founding members of CanadiEM. Dr. Thoma's academic interests are varied, but he tends to focus on technology-enhanced medical education, including medical simulation and online educational resources. Each interview of this diverse series is going to feature a new person and a new kind of activity. Today, we'll be kicking off our interview series with a video inspired by one of my favorite YouTube shows called Hot Ones. In Hot Ones, you eat hotter and hotter chicken wings as you go through the interview. And today we're starting with something very easy, Sriracha, and ending with my homemade super sauce that I made with Carolina Reapers and ghost peppers. Dr. Thoma, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I don't know what I got myself into here.
I don't know what we're doing either. How are you with hot foods?
Not that great, but this still seemed like an okay idea. I'm happy to have to play a game.
We'll see what happens.
Here. Yeah.
We have water, we have milk.
Yep.
We have ice cream in the freezer.
Excellent.
We have tissues, so we'll be good to go.
Okay, sounds
Let's
good.
dig in.
Cool. Survived that one. That was okay.
Pretty mild. Dr. Thoma, we want to start by asking you about CanadiEM. Where did this initial idea come from, and how did you get it started?
Yeah, so CanadiEM started actually with another website called BoringEM when I was a resident. So it was a website that I built before. I think, well, blogs were a little bit cool, but not that cool yet. Certainly not as big as they have become, these online education websites. So I found that I was struggling a little bit with learning all of the less exciting content in emergency medicine. So things like dermatology, geriatrics wasn't as exciting as, the resuscitation, ultrasound, that type of thing. So I wanted to start blogging about my learning as I went about that, and I started the website called BoringEM. That actually went really well. My first post was on urinalysis interpretation as a resident, and I was really shocked to see that people actually read it. People shared it on Twitter. It was really interesting. I ran that website for a few years, and then after I finished residency, got together with a bunch of other Canadian folks from Ottawa, so Ed Kwok from Ottawa, as well as Teresa Chan, who's in McMaster and had been helping with the BoringEM website. And Nadim Lalani, who is in Saskatoon, working on his ER Mentor website. And we combined our websites and created CanadiEM. And cool. We did it very much intentionally to not be my website so much as a Canadian website with authors and contributors and editors from all over Canada.
Cool. How did you end up meeting those people that were all over?
Mostly on the internet. Cool. Yeah, that was the crazy thing about the blogging at the time. I started out not really knowing anyone online and not really knowing what to do with Twitter. And then after I started producing content myself, I found that suddenly I was interacting with all of these interesting people, many of whom I met, published with, continued to work with, and continue to work with even now as CanadiEM continues to grow.
Cool. Yeah. What was the response like from junior colleagues versus senior colleagues when you were getting started with this blogging stuff?
So, there's some people that I knew. It was more like a subset of people that would use websites like this for their education and just kind of keep up to date. But I think most people at that time just didn't really get what you're doing. Like, oh, you're blogging about stuff? Who's going to read that? Why'd you ever listen to a blog? How could you listen to a podcast for education? That seems silly. And that was the general response. In the academic world, people didn't really get it because I don't think they really understood what the impact or why it was important.
Sure.
So there wasn't, honestly, I don't think there was a huge impact or a huge reaction, mostly because no one really seemed to care at that point. But I think over time, the impact of those resources has really grown and people have become more interested in them and being involved with them.
Kind of have to prove the system, I guess, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
round 2.
Are you ready for round 2?
Let's do it.
This one's the jalapeno sauce that they actually use on the show.
Okay.
And then the habanero one here also is.
Okay.
We'll do the jalapeno one first here. Okay, Dr. Thoma, next question.
All right.
In your opinion, how has the rise of social media in medicine contributed to the changing political and teaching landscape of meded?
So the political and teaching. So from the teaching landscape, I think it's really opened things up. Like you don't get all of your education necessarily from the people at your own program in site. I think you've got a broader perspective on what practices are in emergency medicine or other areas from around the world. Some amazing teachers are out there that don't necessarily work at your school, and you can still access their content, their ideas, and I think that's amazing on the education side. The political side is interesting. I wasn't in attending during the period before sort of the rise of online educational resources, but I think prior to that, if I attended conferences, and the conferences I remember, there's a lot of the big names were really the big researchers and always had been, and I think they still are to a degree. But I think the other thing that we've seen politically is the rise of a lot of influence coming from the people that are involved with these online educational resources, the podcasters. They're big draws at conferences. They seem to have a lot of influence when they are appraising literature. People like Scott Weingart, Michelle Lynn. I mean, those people they'd be big draws if they're at conferences and speaking, and they're almost like celebrity educators that have happened in emergency medicine. I think that has had an influence on emergency medicine education more broadly and nationally, and politically the influence that people have has changed. Educators didn't used to be the big draw, I don't think, at a big conference like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like, you're right. You see these people all the time, and you're constantly reminded about them on social media, and so it's natural to be drawn towards those kind of
I think you feel like you know them a little bit more. You like at least kind of know their opinions and quirks, and that's, I think, interesting for people to meet them, to hear from them, to talk to them. And they're interesting people who do a lot of work and honestly volunteer a lot of work to create what they do. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, round three. So this one's the red Thai chili pepper with grilled pineapple that I made. And
awesome.
I don't know. I hope you like it. Pretty mild so far. I'm not doing too bad.
I think I'm doing better than I thought I'd be at round three. So
me too.
That's good. Haven't even broke out the milk yet.
No, I think I'm doing well. There's still 4 left. Okay, we wanted to ask you about your medical simulation fellowship that you did at Harvard University, because we thought that's a really unique and cool thing to do. Can you share with us any of can you share with us how you became interested in simulation and why you started to pursue that?
Yeah, totally. So education, I really liked education. Educational things is what I wanted to do, a big part of a lot in my career anyways. And so when thinking about what I wanted to do to learn about that, I certainly wanted to get, say, a master's degree in education, which I did as part of that year. The other thing I wanted to do was learn some skills, and I think simulation is an amazing educational modality that has the advantage of being able to really work at the level of the learner, can make it harder and easier depending on how they're doing. You can throw them some assistance as they're going through it. You can challenge them, but at the right level. And I think that is going to be a big part of the future of education, both for medical students, but also residents and even attendings. And I think it combines really well actually with the other work that I did, which is the opposite. It's very unpersonalized, very asynchronous, like the asynchronous learning resources we use online. So to me, doing the simulation fellowship gave me a bunch of amazing skills that I think really helped with my teaching overall. And that's why I was interested in it, for sure.
It seems like a really cool teaching environment because it's a bit of a sliding scale. You can decide how competent the person is and make things a little more challenging, or challenge them a little more in some way, or dial it back if things are getting too challenging.
I can use the same anaphylaxis scenario for you guys and my senior residents. I just, for you guys, they get better. For them, they get sicker.
Yes. Yeah, that's really cool. It's a fun thing.
Yeah.
Follow-up question is if you have any pearls that you brought back to the U of S and implemented here from that fellowship.
So I think simulation was really in its infancy when I came back from fellowship and when I started working here. So I did have a role with simulation in our college locally for a while. The biggest contribution I think I made was actually setting up a course to teach other people how to do simulation, how to do debriefing, which was actually quite different than the approach that we take in a lot of other educational modalities. I think there's application of it to other contexts as well. So we started a course locally. It's a 2-day course. We've put, I think, 220 Saskatchewan healthcare providers through it now, and before that there was probably only a handful that had simulation training. So I think that was probably the biggest contribution that I made in coming back and then using the skills that I had from my simulation fellowship to support education locally.
How was it securing the funds in order to make like the sim labs and stuff? Because they're so high tech and they're so cool at the U of S and fun to use, but I imagine they're very expensive.
They are very expensive. Simulation is, you got to use it in the right context because you don't want to use it for everything. You can think you should, but it's very expensive, as you mentioned. So I didn't actually set up any sim. I wasn't involved in the setting up of the funds or the center. That had happened prior to my arrival, and also by the university and not just the college, because the centers in Saskatoon and Regina are used by others other than the College of Medicine as well. But yeah, those mannequins mostly like high 5 figures, low 6 figures in terms of some of them. So they're very expensive, and the faculty time, it's small group teaching, which isn't cheap either. So there was a lot of investment there, and I hope it's been worthwhile for the people that are using it. I know our program certainly uses them a ton and gets a lot of value out of them. So.
I always learn so much in a simulation session. I feel like you really pick up on what your weaknesses are, and then you can go home and read about them so you don't make the same mistakes.
Answering a multiple choice question on asthma is nothing like taking care of an asthmatic in simulation or in real life. So
it's very fun. Okay, Dr. Thoma. Next up is the habanero sauce that they also use on the Hot Ones show.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty big step up here.
Okay.
And we'll see where the other 4 take us here. So,
okay, sounds good.
Cheers.
Do it.
So what we've decided to do is to add a little bit more sauce to the chicken wings, because this is the first time we've done this, and sometimes you make mistakes, and that's okay. I probably added too much sauce, we'll see what happens. Okay, so we just had the habanero sauce. I think it's a really tasty one. This question, we wanted to ask you about how you possibly published 30 papers in your residency, and if you have any tips for improving workflow or concentration or anything.
So I think there's a few things that contributed to that. First of all, I met Teresa Chan. Anyone who knows her, she's a machine, and I started publishing with her very early on, and she works really, really fast. And it just happened to be at a time in my life when it was really good to be focusing on stuff like that. So that was actually during fellowship, and my fellowship was a little bit interesting because I didn't actually work clinically when I was in Boston. I did all of my activities were like just the simulation fellowship stuff. And there are parts during that were very busy, and I had a lot to do, and there were parts of the year during simulation that the simulation fellowship that were a little bit slower, and which gave me a little bit more time to focus on other things. My fellowship director there was an amazing guy, and he said, his advice to me when I started was, fellowship is the time to figure out what you're going to do when no one's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So basically he said, do something. It's Harvard, there's lots of stuff to do here. Find people, do stuff, and it's going to be what you make it. And so I felt like I wasn't doing that much initially because it was really slow off the start, and I got involved in a bunch of stuff. I started writing a bunch of papers, and I think actually the blogging played into that quite a bit because I was used to writing fairly quickly, and had a set of peers that I met, so Teresa being one of them, that was also in the mindset that she wanted to get a lot of stuff done and very motivated to do it, and really quick at writing. So we wrote a lot of papers that year that then got published kind of over the rest of my residency. So
kind of my follow-up question for that is, do you have a favorite publication that you have made over all time? Is there one that really sticks out?
So, there's the ones that are the most popular, and as much as most of the work that I've done has been on the online educational resources, been a little bit with simulation, but what I've been most excited about lately is actually learning analytics and taking this competency-based assessment data that we're collecting and making good use of it. So we just published a paper, and I think it's not in the highest impact journal. It's to many people probably not the most interesting paper I've published, but we published a paper on using a design-based research project to produce dashboards for our learners, or for our competence committees who are making decisions on our learners' promotion, and to display all of this assessment data for them in a way that's really, really slick.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it's been super fun. I haven't worked with too many people outside of medicine before, but I've been working with computer science master's students and computer science professors, and they can do things that you're just like, what do you mean you can just do that? And it's just magic. They did a code or a script or something and it just does it. And it's amazing how much they can contribute to that kind of thing.
It's a perfect collab.
Oh, so I really enjoyed that paper. So that's a paper in Canadian Medical Education Journal that was published yesterday. And it's called Developing Competency Committee Dashboards, Design-Based Research Project or something like that. We can put the link
in the description below.
so I can promote that a little bit, but
cool.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite one.
Cool. Okay, things are about to ramp up.
Okay.
I actually have butterflies in my stomach right now.
Let's see it.
Let's see what happens here. So the next one is a ghost pepper sauce that I made. So I couldn't find them in Saskatoon. I phoned everywhere, so I actually ordered ghost pepper powder off of Amazon. And there's a lot of it in this sauce.
I was just gonna start making fun of your hot sauces for not being that hot. Okay, yeah, that one hits a little bit harder.
A little bit. That's okay. It's good for you. The funny thing that I find with these really hot peppers is it starts not so bad, and then it builds over like 30 seconds.
It just continues, and if I have water, is this going to make it worse or
I don't
better?
know. I try it. Let's find out. The next one is like way scarier.
This is the worst one, or we're not sure about our last one yet?
The last one's, well, you see the little chunks in the last one? Mm-hmm. Those are actually little pieces of Carolina Reapers.
Okay.
Which is, the 2.3 million Scoville.
Okay, that's
so
like
we're
the top
in
of
for,
the scale.
Yeah,
that's
we're in
top
for
of
a
the
good
scale.
ride here.
Okay, yeah.
My question for you with the ghost pepper.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of blogging, and you've done a lot of manuscript writing, and this kind of ties into the question that I was asking you before. As an experienced writer, what are your top 3 tips for someone who's just getting started with either blogging or just writing something or manuscript writing, in terms of like what the content is with your writing or how you organize it, or just getting started with that business?
If I have any tips, I think the biggest one for writing, especially for when you're more junior, is like, first of all, get something down on paper. I feel like, especially when I work with medical students and residents, they don't want to send me anything before it's like super refined and like looks really good and perfect. We've written something together, one of the posts on CanadiEM on wellness, and I mean, what I think at least I hope you realize in the process is, no matter what you sent me initially, I was going to have a lot of feedback for it, and not in a bad way, just like there's never been anything written that I don't think can be improved by other people who are helping you to like edit it, because you're gonna get better ideas, different perspectives, different ways of seeing things. So holding on to something like that for so long, it just drags things out and you don't get as much out of it. So writing fast and having sort of a worst first draft, and getting it out there to your team, and then having a team. I think the other part is having a team that is responsive and kind of working with you rather than you're working for a little bit. And I think as residents, often they're doing the work part of the research project, and the other supervisors sort of blessing things as they go along. Yeah. I don't think that's the idea. You need that a little bit to learn, but I don't know that that's the ideal way to be really productive. If you can work with someone who's kind of a near peer to you, that can provide some advice and guidance, but you can bang drafts back like nobody's business, you get a lot more done. And I think those were the things that really helped me be successful in early writing. That, and honestly, picking kind of a hot up and coming field that no one else was writing about. Like, there are lots of people doing website stuff and blogs and podcasts. No one was studying them though. So doing we got to do the early part of a field where it's just descriptive work often initially that got cited quite a bit and got us really going to being the people that are publishing a lot in that field. And then once you know that, more tips. I mean, once you know one field really well, it's a lot easier to write again, because you're citing the same papers, you're citing the same field, you know the field so well. So I don't need to do a literature review every time I write a paper in online educational resources. It's
preloaded.
Yeah, I've got it all in my reference manager. I've written some of those papers. I've cited those papers a ton of times before. So it's like that first one, I think everyone gets the experience of that first paper, which is the hardest one. Like, if you do the second and the third and the fourth, they just get easier and easier from a writing perspective, as well as from a knowing the literature perspective.
Makes sense. You sort of build up steam and work through things.
Yeah.
I think what you're describing of like in a team where you just send a draft to somebody and they send it right back and give you some tips, I think that's kind of one of my favorite things about CanadiEM. Like, I basically cold called you with that email. Like, I wrote this thing, what do you think? And it was really fun to kind of go back and forth, and I felt like it improved my writing a lot, so thank you very much for that.
Glad to hear. It's a good blog post.
It's always, do you have enough sauce on that one? I can see you're already sweating in your brow a little bit.
A little bit, no, just since that last one.
You're dipping into the milk a bit? That's
yeah,
right.
well, I mean, I'm almost in my water, but
Here's more water.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, but no, that one was definitely a lot more significant than the previous ones, so
I can't quite remember. I think this one is 1.7 million or something.
Oh man. Okay.
This actually,
yeah,
I believe, and Jeff maybe need to confirm this, is this it used to be the hottest sauce on the Hot Ones show?
I think for a while they used it as one of their top 2 or top 3.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's one of the top ones.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you have Watts on there?
I got it rubbed in. I'm rubbing it in.
Okay, we'll do it.
Get it on there.
All right.
Okay, cheers. Swing cheers. Yep, that one's hot. Oh! Whoa, that was hot. That's a building.
I was thinking that like a pink lady would be pretty good for this show.
Just
as a way to like end it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it just keeps getting worse. I'm really crying.
We might be drinking for a while after that. Oh, I don't know if we should just finish so we can.
Okay, well, that's the question. I can't see though.
My lips are burning.
Oh,
My tongue's burning.
I did warn you that this one's a real kick in the teeth.
Well, it's only the second last one though.
Oh, and I'm really crying. Okay.
People do this on purpose.
I guess so. And I'm on call tomorrow. It's gonna be bad. So I can't even focus anymore. So I can't be a medical student without asking you at least one question about carbs.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about a recent paper that is about to be published, and it probably will be published by the time this video comes out.
Yep.
About the U of S Emergency Medicine elective, oh man,
Interview. Carbs.
residency program, and how the new residents are selected. I hope you're not lactose intolerant.
No.
Can you describe the process of the residency selection process, and how it benefits medical students, and what other programs around the country can do to improve their own selection
Let me
criteria?
have some milk here first.
Yeah. I'm so glad I don't have to talk for a second.
So the purpose, basically what we've done is we've really described how CARMS actually works, how our CARMS selection process works. We are taking everything, all of our criteria, we put it in a paper. And up until now, I think CARMS has really been a black box. No one knows how it actually happens, how people get selected. Everyone just thinks it's a bit of a crapshoot, which it probably is to some degree. So what we did was we described it all, how we basically have 6 raters rate every application, we have multiple interviewers and interview stations. We Z-score everything, so you can't just get the easy raters and then go well and breeze into an interview. We have criteria that we laid out, and I think we're the first people who have ever actually said how we pick residents in the country. I've never seen another paper that really gets into it in that detail. And I think for medical students, that's helpful because at least then you know what you're being judged on.
Yeah.
I don't think they've known that until now. I didn't know that when I was going through. I think it's really freaking hot.
The milk helps so much.
It does. It
I
takes
can't believe I mentioned this for a moment.
I think you might run out of milk. So I think that's great. I hope other residency programs and specialties follow our lead on making that transparent. So it won't just be that, if you're going to interview at the U of S, here's what the process is, here's what you need to prepare, here's what you need to do. It'll be everywhere, but we'll see how that goes because I think that would be beneficial to our students, just as CARMS gets more competitive, as people are worried about not matching, it might give you a bit better of an idea of where you think you're going to stand.
Are you ready?
Okay, this one's going to be worse than that.
I think so. I don't think I'm actually capable of making this worse than it is right now. But we'll see. So this one is a sun-dried tomato, Carolina Reaper. I actually got dried Carolina Reapers.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them blended into this sauce. I had a friend that I texted. I was like, what do you think of this? And she told me that her brother ate a Carolina Reaper and then had to skip school the next day.
Okay, well maybe you'll be calling in sick tomorrow.
I won't be skipping call. Nobody can see this.
Do we have more milk?
We do. I have 4 liters in the fridge. I have like a tremor. I mean, it's kind of subsiding though now.
I feel like it's a little bit better than it was, but like my lips are still burning. Like
yeah.
I don't even think I got it on my lips.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
We do have ice cream.
Yeah, that sounds good. If milk's this good, then ice cream's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You good, Alex? Sure. Yeah.
I'm good.
The milk is definitely wonderful.
Are you gonna last dab or no?
Well, we sort of already did. There's a lot on there.
That's fair.
Okay. So last dab is on the actual Hot Ones show.
Yeah.
I guess they'd probably do a better job coating them actually with the sauces. And then the very end, Sean Evans, who's the host, takes out the bottle and he shakes it up, and nobody is like, "What are you doing that for?" And he puts extra sauce on the last ring, and it's called the last dab, and it's like the truth.
We definitely did.
We definitely did a last dab already. Just because we kind of under seasoned, but yeah.
Let's do it.
Cheers. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, I got one hand on my milk.
You ready to go? This
Let's
one
do it.
builds also.
Okay. I'm hoping my pepper sensors are maximally stimulated. Is that a thing?
It must be. It's a thing for every other medication in the world. It's gotta be. It's not hitting as hard.
I think it's just because my mouth is still burning from the last one.
Yeah. Is my face pretty red? Pretty red.
I don't think we can fix that in post.
No, it's stuck like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see how that goes. Okay.
It's going pretty good.
Oh.
Okay.
Last
Dr.
question.
Thoma, you've made it.
I survived.
We've made the end of our spicy journey. It was tough, but it was fun. CanadiEM recently published its year in review and kind of a 2020 preview. We wanted to open up the stage to you to kind of take us through all the exciting things that CanadiEM is doing to help support the online education, the medical education community. And what some of the most exciting successes over the last year or so have been for the website.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the coolest thing that's relatively unique that we have going on is our infographics projects. So we're working with all sorts of people. Everyone seems to want to work with us. I don't know if that's just because we're cheap labor for doing this kind of stuff, or if it's because we're doing a good job. I'd like to think it's because we're doing a really good job. So we have a new agreement with the American Heart Association.
Yep.
And the Heart and Stroke Foundation to basically support and disseminate the new guidelines for like ACLS, PALS, all of their courses. So that's pretty awesome because I think that's all like very credible organizations to be working with as well. Our podcast, like Crackcast, is still crushing it. So if anyone's not listening to that, especially for medical students and residents, I think you should check that out. We have other infographics agreements with the Canadian Journal of Emergency Medicine. Canadian Journal of Emergency Medicine. We're talking about CAPE with some projects. So
cool.
Nothing formalized with CAPE yet, but hopefully we're going to have a big presence at the annual meeting this year. Maybe we'll be doing some more of these videos there.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and then there's some cool projects that are not quite Corkcast for the medical students. That's going to be awesome. They're continuing to do a lot there.
I've listened to a few of those. They're doing an awesome job.
Thank you for talking so we can take a drink of milk for a second. My God. I'm forgetting the stuff my website does, and I mean our website. And I think that's the other big thing that we're trying to do. So we've got a lot of people involved. They're stepping up and taking on bigger roles. So I think that's going to be helpful. So I can have more people involved doing more things that are really cool and innovative, and hopefully be able to focus more on making sure they have the support that they need. Just like with you guys with this project, I'm excited about this. I have no idea whatsoever how this is going to go over.
I hope well.
Or if any of these other people that you guys are thinking of getting to do this are actually going to agree to do this after watching this. But I'm hopeful. So I think it can be really cool. It's really different. And I mean, I think that's what CanadiEM is all about these days, is trying to do innovative and different things in medical education that other people wouldn't traditionally have done, or certainly not medical schools wouldn't have traditionally done. So
it feels very inclusive and a cool way for medical students or residents to kind of get involved in kind of opportunities that wouldn't be able to be possible otherwise.
Well, you know, I think the thing that grates me most in medical education is how we take really, really smart, accomplished people from all sorts of other fields. We let them into medical school, and then I feel like we often treat them like they're children again to a degree. And I think you guys have lots of skills and cool things that you can do and things that you bring to the table. And the hierarchy doesn't necessarily allow that to be represented. So if you guys have ideas, or other people in Canada have ideas about things that they want to do with CanadiEM, like, be in touch. And if you're motivated and want to make it happen, maybe you too could get me to do something like this. But yeah.
I remember Kate last year, you said the junior editor program is a make your own experience, do whatever you want.
It is.
And
yes,
I took that too. A little bit too close to heart. It's up for your interpretation.
Well, hey, I'm still supporting it. So
we made it.
Yeah.
My next question is, with all these homemade hot sauces that I've made for you and you've kindly eaten,
yeah,
do you know what like the first symptoms of botulism are, and that we should go to the emergency department?
I'm hoping we don't start feeling numb. I think that's it.
Droopy
Maybe a
eyelids
little
or
bit. Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
We'll keep an eye for it.
I didn't know that was a risk of this.
So with this video series, I mean, obviously not everybody has to be doing this hot sauce challenge.
Yeah.
I think it's fun, but there's a variety of different ideas, and we're open to brainstorming. So one of the ideas we've kind of thought of was like a puppy interview, where we could bring in a load of puppies from a shelter, and maybe a collaboration with an animal shelter. I thought that would be kind of fun. Of all the people in the world, who would you like to nominate to be next?
Okay, well, I've got to throw that out to my buddy Andrew Hall at Queen's. I'd love to see him do this. I'd love to see Catherine Patoka and at the University of Calgary, just because it would be awesome. Ian Steele, in Ottawa, and if I can get my partner in crime there, Teresa Chan, to participate in something. She might be more down with puppies or some other experience in the hallways, but I'd be interested in her responses as well.
Cool.
I think it'd be a fun thing to see these people get involved, and it's not the traditional interview, definitely. So.
No, it makes it a bit more fun, right? Cool. Well, I'm really excited to work with anyone in the future on this, and hopefully we'll be at Cape, maybe helping out doing a few of these.
It'd be awesome.
Thank you all for watching CanadiEM Spotlight. I hope you had a great time. I think we did. I'm not 100% sure. Dr. Thoma, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks for putting this all together, guys. It's awesome.
It was great. It was a good time. I have the hiccups.
Oh, I'm gonna get coffee a little bit. I feel like my nose is running. Is that a thing that usually happens?